You okay?
I literally haven't changed my outfit in like 2 days.
I'm sick of it!
I just can't get it together today. Not okay. All of us have problems.
Hey, happy Friday. Welcome into It's Okay, the podcast. Guys, we are diving right back into the F-Boy Crimes series. Number 4, The Robber. We did decide to update the names of the series to be a little bit more descriptive so that you can see in the title kind of where we're going with things before you read the description. Let's dive right into this case of Morgan Metzer and Rod Metzer. There's actually a Netflix special movie on this case called Gaslit by My Husband, the Morgan Metzer Story. It was released in 2004. I originally thought it was just like one of those Lifetime movies. I kind of just skimmed past it. I didn't know exactly what it was. I just saw Gaslit by My Husband, and yeah, it just, the title, it just seemed like a Lifetime LMN movie. I skimmed past it, but I was picking a true crime series to listen to before going to bed, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, wow, wait a second. That is what that Netflix movie had to be about. I listened to this case before watching the Netflix movie on 48 Hours. It's a true crime docu-series that airs, I think, on the CBS network. Very, very good docu-series of true crime. I highly recommend 48 Hours, not to be confused with the first 48. But that's kind of the backstory of how I fell into this case. But let's just jump right in, you guys. I did not research her maiden name, but she still goes by Metzer as well. I don't know if she's changed her name since all of this has happened, but Morgan Metzer. She was 14 years old when she started dating Rod. Rod was 17. So they were in school together. They decided to start dating, and they were high school sweethearts, cute couple, moving throughout life. Morgan, in the 48 Hours special, said that at first he treated her and gave her everything. Morgan said that he called her princess. That's how well he was treating her, right? They married in 2009. Morgan was 21. Rod was 24. Very pretty wedding. Outside wedding. I want an outside wedding. I hope it doesn't end like this, the wedding and the marriage, but it was a very beautiful service that they had. 8 months after the wedding, though, Rod's younger brother, Kevin, died from leukemia at just 19 years old. Rod's mother, Kathy, said he wasn't the same after this. He really leaned on Morgan after the death of his brother. The next year, Morgan got pregnant with her son, their son, and named him Kevin after the brother. Very beautiful sentiment. Now, the baby was born early with a congenital heart defect. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He had a heart defect and actually died on his due date. So the baby was born early and died 18 days later on his actual due date. Only lived 18 days. Very, very sad. But they got through it. And just 3 months later, Morgan was pregnant again with twins, a boy and a girl, in 2012. They were healthy. Everything was fine. Babies were born. Everything was fine. Now, this is when the marriage began to change. A year after they were born, the twins, Rod lost his job. Now, Megan says Rod had a lot of jobs, but his main one that was raking in income, the one that he lost, He was like a day trader for himself. Now, Morgan's career, however, because at first she wasn't really working like that, but, he lost his job. So she was like, let me step up. Let me do some things. Megan's career was taking off during this time. She was a interior designer. So she had her own interior design business. It was called Shiplap and Sugar. It was her company. She didn't expect it to be successful, honestly, like it was. It was becoming so successful on her own that she needed help. And she hired her best friend, Nicole. So Nicole joined the business with her because, like I said, she didn't know that it was going to go as well as it was going. She even won an award in 2020. A Reader's Choice Award for the best interior design out of Georgia. Now, because of all the success Morgan was having, Rod not having any, Morgan says Rod began to abuse her mentally and physically. Morgan said on Labor Day, on a Labor Day weekend, not sure what year, but she says on a Labor Day weekend, they were on a lake trip with friends. They were on the boat, drive the boat. They were having a good time. And him and her got into a fight about something in their cabin. She wasn't sure what the fight was about, but they got into a fight in their cabin. And that was the first time he ever beat her. That's how she describes it. So after having twins and everything, she used the words beat, not hit. She says he beat her. That was her first time. After that, Morgan says Rod tried to tell her and everyone close to them. He even tried to tell Morgan herself and everyone close to them that Morgan was to blame. He's telling her, you're to blame for her own injuries, that she was the one who did it, that she lost her temper and was wailing all over the place. This is what she's saying in the documentary. So I'm assuming he's saying that she beat herself. I don't know. Gaslighting her pretty much. And that she got hurt because he had to forcefully restrain her pretty much. And Morgan started to believe maybe, it was her fault. And she says that her friends stopped talking to her and how Rod had no marks on him. So it had to have been her fault. Now, Morgan says after this, it was a pivotal point in the marriage because now every fight, every argument, everything, Rod would always make it seem like it was her fault. And she was doubting her own reality and felt crazy. Rod started to even involve the kids and one time pretended that Morgan pushed him down the stairs and says that he actually hurt himself, rolled down the stairs and said to the twins, "Mommy pushed me down the stairs. Can you believe that?" In the Netflix special, it even portrays this as such, he does something crazy and bangs her against the wall. So she's disoriented from hitting her head against the wall and he falls down the stairs and then she kind of comes to and she's like, what the heck is happening? And that's kind of what she describes actually happened. Morgan said he would sexually abuse her, but it took her a moment to realize that, that's what was happening. He was aggressive and he wouldn't take no for an answer. And in cases like this, when you hear stuff like that, I remember there being a court case that I don't know if it became a federal law, but there used to be talks of in a marriage, your husband can't sexually abuse you. You guys are married and things like that. No, that is definitely a thing. Your husband, your partner can be sexually abusing you. Very, very sick. But she honestly didn't think that that's what was happening to her at the time. So Morgan got fed up. She had enough. So Morgan filed for divorce in 2020 during the outbreak of COVID. I don't know what the straw was that broke the camel's back, but the divorce was final in December before New Year's. Now, this man clearly lost his marbles. He told Morgan a week leading up to this attack that we're going to get into that he had pancreatic cancer. He even showed her doctor's notes. He didn't tell anyone else this, however. And Morgan let him sleep on her couch because she was upset behind the news of his cancer, as, anyone would, father of your kids, he has cancer. Like, what else would you do, And Morgan let him sleep on her couch and things like that. During all of this, he was, of course, trying to get back with Morgan, begging her to be with him and all of that type of stuff. Now, on December 31st, New Year's of 2020, Morgan said she had enough of being his sole emotional support. She insisted that he tell his parents, and Rod said no, like that he wouldn't, and he wasn't going to tell anyone. And so Morgan kicked him out after that. And she says that he spent the day texting her that she needs to get back with him, he'll make more money, and that she can quit her job and all of that type of stuff. But like, Morgan didn't want to quit her job. She liked her job. She was thriving at it and all of that stuff. This is what he's texting her the day that she kicked him out, on December 31st of 2020. Now, on New Year's Day, the day of the attack, Morgan was out with friends. She was celebrating New Year's, and she was and wanted to watch the ball drop with her friends, but she ended up going home. Now, she received a text from Rod that he left a check on her porch underneath one of the chairs on the front porch for a huge amount of money. I think it was $56,000. And this, we detectives, everyone believes, was a reason to get her back home, because she originally told him, I'm not going to be home. Stop texting me. I'm turning my phone off for a little while. All of that stuff. She goes home. She finds the check. She's you can see on camera, because she has security cameras, you can see on camera she's irritated when she finds the check. She's not like, ooh, I got money. She's like, ugh, I'm sick of this. So all of that occurs. She goes back in the house. She decides to shut the house down for the night. The kids are with her mother or grandparents or something like that. I'm not all the way positive on that. But she goes to sleep and is awoken by the fireworks. It's New Year's Day. It's January 1st, 2021. She looks outside, watches the fireworks and all of that stuff, and she goes back to sleep. And then Morgan is awoken again by a man, what she believes to be, dressed in all black, has a mask on his face, and she jumps up and the person immediately attacks her. The person is pistol whipping her. He strangles her a few times. She says at one point she starts blacking out, and she genuinely thinks that she is going to die. This person sexually assaults her. She says that he said to her, "You're going to miss your husband." And she says to him, "No, don't hurt my husband. I love him." She says that after this, she felt like the entire energy of the room, the situation shift. And she is thinking this is what's going to stop me from being killed. He asked where her jewelry and nice stuff was after the nightmare that he put her through, going through her drawers and throwing stuff around. Then asked for her phone to put in a code for the back door in her room that leads out to the back porch. So Morgan's room is in what you would say the back facing of the house, and the back porch has a patio door that is leading into her room. Grabs her phone, asks for the password, puts in the code to the back door, unlocks the back door. He then got her out of the bed and put a pillowcase over her head and walked her out onto the back porch. She was naked. He had her zip tied behind her back. He had her zip tied the entire time during the attack, everything. Still zip tied, naked, afraid, all of that. Leaves her on the back porch and says, "Do not get up until you hear 2 car honks or I will kill you." Her house is pretty secluded from neighbors, so them seeing her or hearing her was definitely a no-go. She's like processing all of that. She couldn't see because of the pillowcase, and after about 40 minutes, she heard someone walking up, thinking it was her attacker again. But she heard the voice of her ex-husband saying, "Oh, honey, what happened?" And I don't know how he actually said it, but Morgan says that he says, "Oh, honey, what happened?" To hear her say that he said that is just absolutely crazy. And obviously, as you can tell, like the person who attacked her was Rod, obviously. And Morgan says that, he called 911. You can hear the 911 call. 911 call verbatim. Rod is saying, somebody broke in over here. She was on the back porch and the back door was wide open. She was tied up with the hood over her head. You could hear Morgan in the back wailing, honestly overcome with emotion, I'm sure. In the 911 call, she's screaming, "Please don't leave, Rod, please." And he says, "I'm going to be right here." Megan cries, "Please." And Rod says, "I'm going to leave the door open, okay?" So they're waiting for police to get there. She is dressed now. Rod is in his car whenever detectives arrive. So the detectives that arrive are Sergeant Dakota Livers and I think Detective Hawk, who immediately wondered why Rod showed up to her place. They're like, "Why did you come here?" But they're gathering all of that as they arrive. Now they're, gathering facts and everything, asking questions, asking Rod, what's going on? Why did you come over here? Different things like that. Rod said he received an eerie message that night while he was getting ready for bed and brushing his teeth. He said someone knocked on his apartment window with like an eerie message, and he couldn't make out what the person was saying completely. All he heard was Morgan's name. This is what he is telling the police and the detectives, that's why he was concerned. He said he tried calling Morgan, but she didn't answer. He lives only 12 minutes away from her and drove to her house. Now, Detective Livers says that Rod's behavior was unusual and that when they got the call and showed up to the house, he was sitting in his car. There was another deputy with him. You have police that show up, detectives that show up, trying to figure out everything. So he was in the car and there was a detective like outside of his car with him. Morgan was in the house. Detective Sergeant Livers and Hawk, who was the other detective that I mentioned, had separated everyone. So separated Morgan and Rod from each other. Morgan had called her parents by this point, so her mom and dad were there. So her kids had to have been with the grandparents because her mom and dad showed up, because of this situation. Morgan actually says on recording that she thought it was Rod verbatim after they separated everyone and started asking her what was going on. She says, "I just thought it was him." And Livers asks, when you say him, you're talking about your husband? And Morgan says, mm-hmm. On 48 Hours, Morgan says at first she didn't know who her attacker was. But earlier, like I mentioned, the attacker helped her get out of bed. And this is immediately when she knew, like, this is Rod, because of the way he helped her get out of bed. It was the same way he helped her when she was pregnant, getting out of bed. It felt so familiar to her. Now, Sergeant Livers actually tells Morgan that he believes her. Everything was so suspicious to him, he believed her. And she just felt a sigh of relief because she had been gaslit by this man so long. They had been together, knowing each other for over 10 years and married. So going through gaslighting and manipulation for so long, you just automatically assume that, like, no one is going to believe you. But Detective Livers did. Now, Rachel Ash was the Deputy Chief Assistant District Attorney for Cherokee County and worked exclusively on domestic violence cases. During the investigation, it sounded like everyone working on the case couldn't get over why Rod went to Morgan's house after she told him she was going to be at her parents'. Earlier, I mentioned that she said, like, oh, I'm not going to be at my parents' house. I'm done texting you. Stop talking to me. I'm going to put my phone on mute. We're done talking for today. He texted her about the check, so she ended up going there and all of that stuff. This story about someone coming to his apartment saying Morgan's name is just crazy, because if you didn't do it, then it would have to be someone you and Morgan know, right? And they would have known, like, you and Morgan's lives and know Rod's lives, like where he lives. And so a random attacker wouldn't know where Rod lives and wouldn't know to, like, go to his door and go to his window and, like, talk about Morgan and be weird or whatever, you know what I mean? So it had to have been someone that they both knew, and it's like, who? But you guys can't name who. So that very night, while on the porch with officers, Sergeant Hawk asked to see Rod's phone. It was an iPhone, and they found a hidden folder with images of Morgan partially dressed, her naked. There were photos that he took of her phone and text messages that she had as well within this hidden folder. Now, the hidden folder that they found on the iPhone, I don't know if it was like one of those fake calculator apps, you know how it looks like a calculator, but you can store different stuff on it, or if it was like in his camera roll, private, like I don't know what they mean by hidden folder, but that's what they saw on his phone. Now, the pictures of the text messages that he took were of Morgan texting another man. Don't know who this man was, but he took pictures of those messages. Now, this is after the divorce and all of that. They did confront him about what they found, and he's like, oh, people make mistakes. I guess they told Morgan about it as well, and she was baffled about this. So in order for him not to destroy evidence before they could get search warrants, and everything like that, they arrest him for taking pictures of her without her permission, like an invasion of privacy type of thing. So Rod's being arrested for this, and he's like, are y'all kidding me? And the officers were like, nope, we're not kidding you. This is not a joke. Come on. So they're like putting him in handcuffs, back of the police car. You go, buddy. Now they just have to prove he was the one who attacked her that night, because everyone officers, detectives, Detective Livers, Detective Hawk, like that's what they're all assuming. They're like, this is this guy. And also Morgan tells them as well, like, it's this guy. Now, the security footage was deleted by Rod, so that's not the only thing he did when he grabbed her phone, unlocking the back door. He also was deleting the security cam footage. And he actually took her phone altogether, and her phone was never recovered. And you know, this is news to me. Once videos are deleted from a security camera, the company deletes them from their cloud or whatever. I don't know if all companies are like this or just the one that Morgan has, but it's very crazy. I think like on your iPhone, once you delete photos, like, I don't know, I feel like they always make you think like anything can be recovered. It lives forever. But the security camera footage could not be recovered after being deleted. Now, the attacker was able to get in because Morgan did set her alarm, but getting in through a basement window. Now, the window did have a sensor, but instead of it being over the window, it was unattached and reattached on the window sill. So if the window opens, the sensor is still intact, being undisturbed. So you could just slide the window up and down without even disturbing the sensor at all. Now, the detectives believe he did this while he was staying with her, probably when he was taking photos of her and all of that as well. Now, they did receive those search warrants while he's in jail on the privacy invasion arrest. They searched his car and apartment, and they found zip ties in his apartment, the exact same zip ties used to bound Morgan. Now, the attacker had pre-looped the zip ties, having to cut one. They actually, in his apartment, found the other half in his apartment that he cut. And of course, when you take the zip ties from Morgan and of course, it was a perfect match. The crime scene technician, Melanie Thrasher, was able to match the tail of the zip tie found at Rod's apartment, which he cut. And it was, like I said, a complete match. We could even see it under a microscope. That's how perfect of a match it was. Like literally, like put it together underneath a microscope. It's like cut evenly, like perfectly, just like fits right back together. Left that at the apartment. So hilarious, but not at the same time. They also found at his apartment a book called 7 Ways to Be Her Hero, The One Your Wife Has Been Waiting For by Doug Fields. And of course, his browser history, when they searched it, his searches were how to change your voice, how long to choke someone unconscious, how to crack an iPhone password, how to get sympathy from your ex, cancer letter from hospital. These are all of the things that he is searching on his search engines. Now, how to change your voice, right? Morgan says that her attacker you could tell, was trying to change his voice. It sounded like Batman almost. Now, underneath his outgoing emails, he created a fake email account to send himself the cancer diagnosis. Yes, you guys, he never had cancer. Created and printed out fake cancer diagnosis letters and receipts and all type of stuff. Created a bill from a doctor's office to show that he had been getting treatment for pancreatic cancer, which he never had. He was not diagnosed. 2 days after the attack, during his jailhouse formal interview, orange jumpsuit and all, Sergeant Livers and a different sergeant, Sergeant Harris, was interviewing him and asking questions and said to him, so you said you're a diabetic, right? And Rod says yes. And Harris asks, what other kind of health issues do you have? And Rod paused a little bit before saying nothing as far as I know yet. Like, what? What do you mean yet? Now, during the 48 hours episode about this, the interviewer asks Morgan, does she think he faked cancer to win her back or to gain access, to her house? And Morgan originally said to win her back, but she changed her answer and said probably both. So sick. Sergeant Livers was literally, and I mean literally, scratching his head and said, I thought you had cancer, and confronted Rod with this lie. And he asks, how did you tell her that you had cancer? Like, how did you tell her about this cancer thing? And that's when Rod shuts down the interview and is like, I don't know if I should talk to you guys anymore. I'm starting to get a bad feeling. What angle are you guys coming from? And the interview does keep going because he doesn't say like, I want a lawyer, I'm done talking. He just is kind of like, I don't know about this, you guys. But they ask him, has he wanted to change his voice because of his searches, based on his searches? And Rod says maybe, and because he felt like his voice wasn't manly enough. Okay. Then they let him know the most interesting thing they found was the collection of zip ties, black zip ties. He tries to look confused. Zip ties? I don't have zip ties. And then Sergeant Harris goes on to say, we know you don't. We have them now. Like, what? And they let him know like they're identical to the ones that were on Morgan's wrist. Rod's like, this is starting to get squirrely. There's something funny going on here. That's literally what he's saying after they tell him about the zip ties. Like, dude. And the Sergeant Harris is like, did someone break in and put them there? Like, come on now. And what do you know? It's on camera. Without a mask during COVID at Lowe's, you see Rod literally buying the zip ties with his debit card, of all things. He was the only one without a mask, so you could see him clear as day at Lowe's purchasing these zip ties. He paid $9.98 for them. Before tax, I think. I'm not sure about after tax. Anyway, doesn't matter. He bought them at Lowe's without a mask on. You could see him. You saw him walking into Lowe's, at the register, walking out, all of that. He bought them on December 30th, 36 hours before the attack. So obviously this was all premeditated. Now, the cameras at his apartment building, Canton Mill Lofts, were also working. There's a camera in the entranceway. So you go through the doors. It's kind of like one of those apartment buildings that isn't like, oh, the access to your apartment is like on the outside technically. Like, no, you go inside of a building and then you can like take an elevator or go upstairs to your apartment, your loft. Now, Rod cannot be seen leaving after he says someone supposedly knocked on his window saying Morgan's name, but we do see him enter the building after the attack wearing black pants, red sneakers, an unzipped black fleece-like jacket with the hood pulled over his head. He then leaves back out 4 minutes later wearing different clothes, some jeans, a light blue hoodie, and black sneakers, carrying a plastic bag. Detectives never knew what was in that bag. This was at 1:24 a.m. So I've been saying night because, I mean, all of this was during dark hours, but this was on New Year's Day of 2021. So 12 a.m. through 2 a.m. on New Year's Day, January 1st. Now on August 4th of 2021, just 8 months later after this, Rod pled guilty to 14 counts, all dealing with this. He agreed to serve 25 years on a 70-year sentence. So when he gets out in 25 years, he'll serve another 45 years on probation. Morgan did read a victim impact statement to her husband and attacker. She phrased it that way. Read it to her husband and her attacker. Absolutely crazy. So they get a divorce after all of this. Literally get a divorce. Months and months later, this guy tells her he has cancer. She is so kind to him, even after all he put her through, the emotional, mental, and physical abuse, lets him stay with her after this emotional news, so she thought. He's not willing to tell anyone that he has cancer. Only Morgan can know. She tells him that he needs to tell his parents. He says no. She decides to kick him out New Year's Day. He had been hatched this plan. Now, I don't know how in advance he had planned this. It had to have been a week in advance, but literally kicks her out that night. He never goes home. Never goes home until after the attack. You never see him enter his apartment building until after the attack. He goes in, leaves 4 minutes later, and then goes to Morgan's house. Finds her after he attacked her. Absolutely insane. Gaslit is an understatement to this case. I absolutely cannot believe it. But this man is currently in jail. Morgan is striving along, strong as can be. I don't know if she still is in the interior design business. I'm pretty sure she definitely had to take a break after going through all of this. It's just absolutely crazy, this case. Definitely F-Boy is fitting for something like this. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. But I definitely would highly recommend watching the Netflix story, the Netflix movie on this, Gaslit by My Husband, the Morgan Metzer story. It actually was very, very good and detailed what she went through and how she describes her life quite well. They really got it down to a T. Like I said, listened to the case first before watching the Netflix movie, and it was very, very good. You know how sometimes they do a movie and it's like completely not right, like at all, but they definitely got it right. Can't believe it. It definitely reminds me of F-Boy Crimes 3. I retitled it, not just 3, F-Boy Crimes 3, The Stalker, about a husband who pretended to be his wife's stalker for months, you guys, for months, and then killed her. Morgan was way more fortunate, if you could say that. She, thank goodness, did not die. She believes that her saying, no, don't kill my husband, I love him, is what saved her life and why he didn't ultimately just kill her. So insane. And it's like, if he had murdered her, would he have been found out? You know what I mean? Because she's the one who alluded to police, like, I think that he's the one who attacked me. Had she had not been there to tell them that, like, would he have been found out? Would he have been able to, like, oh, this is what's happened, and then delete evidence and, like, destroy evidence as quickly as he could have? Possibly. But that is the wrapping of this case of Morgan Metzer and Rod Metzer. Morgan is still here, living in Georgia, thriving and alive to tell her story. And I think it is something that definitely should be spoken about. We've been hearing the gaslighting word, like that's kind of like a new term in our vocabulary. Like 20 years ago, would anyone even know, like, oh, he's gaslighting me, gaslit? Like, would that have even, it wasn't in our vocabulary. It was not in our vocabulary, but he definitely was an F-boy to the fullest degree. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But you guys, that is going to be the end of this episode. I hope you guys had an amazing week this week. I hope you guys have an even better weekend. Stay strong, stay vigilant, keep your head on a swivel, pay attention, and don't get gaslit, because it could be life or death at this point. Because these F-boys, they are effing around, and they finding out, but sometimes we finding out too, and I don't want to find out. Okay. But remember, it's okay.
All of us have problems.